Today on General Hospital, Valentine and Lulu separately worry about Charlotte, and Portia tries to talk things out with Trina. Trina is at home, talking to Kai on the phone. When her mother shows up at her door, Portia refuses to be ignored any longer and says that this not talking cannot continue. Trina invites her mother in and finally lashes out, asking how she could cheat on her dad, get pregnant, and not know who the father is. Portia rehashes the whole story of Drew blackmailing her and keeping it a secret from her father, who at the time was busy cozying up to Jordan. Trina refuses to let her mom blame her for cheating on her dad. Since cheating on her husband is her MO, she snarks, "I hope Dr. Gannon knows what he's in for." Trina argues that had the truth about Isaiah not come out on the stand, her mother likely never would have told them the truth. Trina yells, "That's who you are, a liar." Portia swears she would have told the truth about the baby. She's sorry she lied to her now, and when she was younger, all she wanted to do then was give Trina a family. Curtis left her when he found out she was married to Taggart, and she was convinced he wouldn't have stuck around to have a child with her. Trina says they'll never know because of her choices. Portia cries that she did her best and never expected her to be perfect, or to make the mistake she did. But even if Trina did, she'd still love her dot at the hospital. Lulu arrives to pick up Rocco from his community service and meets with Nathan, whom she called. She tells him that Charlotte has gone missing and needs his help finding her. Nathan is more than happy to give her a ride to the stables, where Lulu thinks she's gone. Rocco finally shows up, and Lulu says they'll drop him off at X, as she doesn't want him home alone if the power goes out. Carly checks on Valentine in the attic and fills him in on Charlotte taking off. She says Lulu thinks she went to check on her horse, but she believes Charlotte is headed here to see her dad. Valentine worries as the storm worsens. He decides to go search for his daughter, but Carly says he can't do that, as he could get lost looking for her and she could turn up here while he's out there. Charlotte arrives at the Quartermains and Danny asks what is going on and why the secrecy. She explains her mom thinks she's going to check on her horse, but she needs to see her dad to warn him that he's put his trust in a backstabbing traitor. Charlotte fills him in on what she overheard Nina and Brennan discussing, and she can't believe she trusted her. She says Nina is one of the few people her dad trusts, so he needs to know she sold him out to Jack. Danny gets them coats and gear so they can trek over to Carlisle's. He also understands how it feels when someone you care about lets you down, and he'd never do that to her. She smiles and says she knows. Danny's phone pings, and everyone is being warned to shelter in place. The boy says her dad should be safe where he is, so they should sit put. Joss breaks into Wyndemere and begins looking for the entrance to the catacombs. However, she's startled when she hears a noise and hides. A figure begins placing candlesticks around the place, and when he lights one, Joss can see it's Cullum. Joss makes her move and pretends to come in through the front, looking for her. Uncle Lucas, she pretends to be surprised to see Cullum, spots the fire he's lit, and runs over to it, saying she got caught sailing in the storm. Cullum asks who she is. She explains she's Lucas' niece. He says his name is Matthew, the caretaker, and the power went out, and everyone went to the mainland. Cullum asks what she was doing out in the storm, and she claims she was sailing to meet a friend on Porter Island for a blizzard bash, and it got too bad, and so she ended up here. Cullum brings out some drink and food and offers her a brandy, which she accepts. Joe and Emma are at Anna's place, bundle up and prepare to head to Drew's to help Tracy. However, the storm is too severe, and there is no way they can drive anywhere, so they shelter together in Anna's apartment. Tracy lets herself into Drew's house, only to find a fire going. Martin surprises her and asks if she's a little overdressed for breaking and entering. Tracy says she didn't break in as she has a key. Martin knows nobody living here would have given her one, and quickly realizes she stole Scout's key. Martin asks why she is here. Tracy explains she's come to retrieve her belongings. Starting with the decanter he's holding, they bicker as usual, and he points out that Drew is a Quartermain, so he is entitled to some of these heirlooms. He asks if she has no compassion at all for the man, given his current state. Tracy yells she showed him mercy when she didn't let him bleed to death after being shot, which was more than he did for her son, Ned, whom he left to die from her. Heart attack at Trina's, Portia tells her daughter that she can't take back what she did, but asks if her daughter can love her anyway. Rock arrives at the X, finds the fire going, sees Charlotte's scarf hanging near the fireplace. But Danny and Charlotte are nowhere to be found. In her attic. Carly suggests a game of checkers to distract Valentine from worrying about Charlotte. He notes, "Something tells me you cheat." At Wyndemere, Cullum asks Joss about herself. He's giving off total creeper vibes. She says she's a student at PCU, and she's grown up in Port Charles most of her life. What you see is what you get. He finds that hard to believe, bananas. Emma and Joe can't get through to Tracy due to the storm knocking out cell signals, and they wonder if Tracy was able to make it to Drew's. They end up snuggling under a blanket on the couch to keep warm. At Drew's, Tracy insists she's taking her things tonight, but Martin says the roads are impassable and she's stuck here. However, he'll let her stay in this warm house instead of sleeping in her car if she asks him nicely. Finally, Nathan and Lulu end up breaking into the closed cafe to seek refuge after Nathan's car had spun out and off the road. On the next General Hospital, Jason rescues a soaked, freezing Brit and stranded at the cafe. Nathan warns Lulu they're likely to lose power. Plus, get more spoilers for all the soaps for Thursday, January 29th, right here.